that's the bone I gotta pick with you.
Yo, don't pick Ooh, watch that when you point that. Right?
Son.
Okay.
Yo, that's a 2-hour-long bone you were waiting to
Son. Oh my God. I got a bone to pick with you and Indians.
All right.
Well, it's really not all.
Because I wish you fucking would go at the Indian candidate.
Yo, so it's not this Indian Patel guy. It's John Kapoor. Have you heard of him?
Nah.
This is a motherfucker.
I don't trust him though. His name is John.
Well, here's the thing. He's, I guess, from India, comes here, and he's like one of the people that's responsible for the fentanyl crisis in America, son. I was watching 60 Minutes on it. Mm-hmm. Son, this is an evil motherfucker, bro.
I believe it, man. He calls himself John. I don't trust no fucking Indian.
Break
John
it down.
Kapoor, get the fuck out of here, yo.
So this motherfucker, what he did is he essentially, I don't know if he owns fentanyl or whatever the fuck it was. You can look it up. But what he did is he got out these people who sell or basically like kind of like bribe doctors to prescribe certain medication. Mm-hmm. So they're pharmaceutical reps.
Yeah, that's what they do.
So I guess he represented fentanyl or owned fentanyl or whatever it is. But he set up this whole representative team to get doctors to prescribe fentanyl. Okay? And he would reward the doctors that prescribed it and prescribed it more.
Yep.
And he put them on these like speaking tours or whatever like that, where they get money to speak because you can't pay them directly, but you only spoke if you prescribed the fentanyl. And he would have data analytics of how much that he was prescribing to the people, and he would only continue to reward them if they upped and increased the amount of fentanyl he was prescribing per person.
Wow.
So, and those people and those doctors were told, and if you do not continue, you're only giving this person 5 milligrams or micrograms or whatever it is, up it to 10. They need to have more. He literally forced addiction through doctors on these people, and these scumbag fucking doctors who are going along with it were part of it. And it was just this unbelievable 60 Minutes piece. Obviously, I have to find the other side to the story, but it was one of those moments where I sat back and I was like, I don't know if capitalism and health go together, B. Real talk, like
Had to give it soul clap there.
yo,
Finally.
it exposed it. Like I want doctors to make tons of money because their job is so fucking important. I want them to get paid so much
Right,
goddamn
and
money.
you want the best people to be doctors.
And I want the best people to be doctors, and the way you reward that is with a capitalistic
Monetary,
system, right?
yeah.
Monetary gain. That being said, when you create a situation like this where it's in people's best interest to make them addicts,
Yeah.
you're just as bad as those drug dealers on the street. Matter of fact, you're worse because those drug dealers on the street know they're coming to get illegal drugs. These people are trusting a fucking doctor to give them something to make them feel better.
Yeah.
And like
I can't wait for the day of reckoning where like the veil is
Taken down from the pharmaceutical industry?
It's crazy. I used to work in an oncology
They have
office.
what do you call that shit in Congress? Like the lobby? The pharmaceutical lobby is like the fucking
this
lobby.
is the most powerful one.
It's the one. That's the fucking
they
one.
just got money. They got crazy amounts of money.
But you were saying you worked.
So I used to work in an oncology office, and we had some of like the top oncologists, like top of their Yale, Harvard, all these types of doctors. These motherfuckers, and I knew this was going on. For trial chemo drugs, they were incentivized in that same exact way to get as many of their patients to get on these trial chemo drugs, even though it's almost like, I would say 90% of the cases, you see those patients deteriorate faster because these trial drugs are so much stronger than the approved chemo drugs that are in place right now. But these guys would get bonuses. They would be at all these speaking arrangements. This motherfucker was getting $1 million per speaking arrangement.
Wow.
Son, it's crazy the shit that's going on in the medical system.
So
Crazy.
what? So that's what do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
Indian like
Akaash,
him.
answer for your people.
Yeah, answer for your
I say
fucking
this
people,
sincerely.
son.
I say this sincerely. If you see an Indian
Defund India.
with an Indian last name, we already did that. With an Indian last name. With an Indian last
White
name.
people originally defunded.
Y'all the kings of defunding, yo. Y'all defund continents at this bitch.
That's hysterical. Go on. If you see
If
it,
you see an Indian with an Indian last name and a white first name, do not trust this guy.
Bobby Jindal.
Bobby Jindal. If you see a fucking William Subramanian or whatever the fuck, nah, bro, you out. I don't trust you at all. He's doing that for white people, and that's not Indian you trust.
Interesting.
You out.
But
So
it is
you're
interesting.
saying they changed their name, or the parents' name.
That's not his given name. He calls himself that so you guys trust him more. Some bullshit.
But in reality, he just wants you to be able to pronounce his name because it's probably hard to pronounce. So he manipulates the way that you pronounce it, right? So he almost changed the whole name.
I know the name Kapoor. It's not gonna be that hard. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like fucking 2 syllables.
Yeah, but that's really fucked up that he would just change the pronunciation of his name just to like get the masses to be able to accept it more. You know,
I don't
What?
get it.
Why are you looking at me?
Mark Gagnon.
Oh,
That's how it's pronounced.
Shit.
That's how it's pronounced. How else could you pronounce it?
What?
How else could you pronounce it?
Mark.
Gagnon or whatever the fuck.
Nah, no, they're saying it wrong.
How is it?
Gagnon.
Son, you just want that shit to be closer to fag, don't you?
I'm trying to make you guys comfortable.
Anyway, it is crazy, man. It really opened my eyes to like the
But
evils
what's the
of the
solution?
pharmaceutical system.
Is there no way around that in a socialist medical system or like a
I think that
Medicare for all?
unfortunately, the solution is an extreme amount of government overreach, and that is going to limit the amount of drugs that we have. But I really think that drugs kind of like are like porn in that like we kind of figured it all out. Like we've done all the drugs. Like, yeah, we need a vaccine for this illness that's out right now. Yes. Do we need a vaccine for restless leg syndrome? No. Do we need a million different drugs for you're overweight and you don't want to stop eating? No. The drug for you're overweight and you don't want to stop eating is you stop eating. Like,
Okay.
why are we creating drugs to enable the problem that you have?
So what's interesting is they tried to shut a lot of this down. It just seems like another loophole, and maybe they'll always find loopholes. But I remember my uncle used to get gift cards for everything, fancy dinners all the time.
It's payola, like with radio.
Yep.
Only people's lives are at stake.
And you can't. There has to be some kind of like monetary cap, because it seems like it's the pharmaceutical. Like if you kept doctors' salaries high, it would still be a competitive job. I think if the compensation for a family practice doctor is $350,000 a year. All right, I'll do that. If it's $1 million a year for a neurosurgeon's salary, all right, I'll do that. But all these incentives, that's where the problem is. If I just get a high-ass salary, I will still want to be a doctor. But all this other shit that you don't even know about that makes you think I would want to be a doctor, that's where you got to cut out.
Yeah,
You're
but
so
they
right.
also-
But don't you also think that like people are naturally greedy? So if there's an opportunity to make more
Yeah,
money, they
that's-
might still take it.
And the problem, I think, is going to be I think you got to go with the pharmaceutical
But
companies,
even their
too. That's the
salaries, they're incentivized the more patients they get. So
Yeah,
like
so you wanna,
the
like,
actual
run through
hospitals
patients.
like incentivize them. It's like, oh yeah, you have a retention rate and you are bringing more business to here, you get a bonus.
I know, and I don't know I know that's a thing, and I also think in a socialist system, it will be like, we want you to see as few people as possible because we have to pay for all this. This comes out of our pocket every time. Like, people are naturally greedy, so what is the solution? There is an imperfect solution, whatever it is.
I think
but I don't know
that
what it is.
I think we all acknowledge that there is conflict, right?
Yeah.
Between capitalism and health,
Yeah.
right? And it is a really tricky thing. So we have to do something to limit the extremes of capitalism.
Yeah.
When it comes to health specifically. And I think we usually limit the extremes of capitalism when it comes to like most businesses, right? You can't have monopolistic practices, right?
Right. The child labor laws.
Child labor laws, even minimum wage. Like there are things that we put in place here. So we need to have a little bit more, and it's weird for me to even say this, but government overreach on the a pharmaceutical company's ability to reward a doctor for using their drug.
Yeah. And it's
Now-
not, that veil's not going to get lifted for decades probably, because there's so much other shit that's there that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
We're not going to look at that for a long time. Hospital administrators are apparently greedy fucks. Like, they're not giving their nurses masks and shit like that because it's just like, I'm not spending that money.
This is, I'm sure you guys can poke holes in the solution, but like, what if we gave detail? I know this might be against HIPAA, but what if we gave analysis of what happened with the patients that doctor saw? Not specifically by name, but for example, 60% of diabetes patients that saw this doctor ended up, reducing their diabetes and blah, 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 blah. And if then we found out there are certain doctors that were like, oh, 90% of these patients that went and saw for back pain ended up being on Oxycontin and being addicted and having problems. They're like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to see that doctor because he
Advanced
prescribes this
analytics
shit.
for whom? Like a third-party agency that oversees all this?
Yeah, like it's almost like a Yelp review for doctors, but we get to do it based on what they're prescribing and how they're treating those patients so that we could go, well, shit, I want to be with that doctor who it seems like all his patients, not all, or 60% of his patients end up recovering, while this one, 20% of his patients end up recovering and 80% become drug addicts. Poke holes in it.
I'm trying to think if because it would be a private company, which is good. Because if it's a government agency, they're lazy by nature. Government jobs are
Right.
They don't do shit really. Private company could be incentivized to get it done, but like, how are they incentivized for them to stay completely moral and transparent?
Because then they could be bribed by the...
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like, that's the other thing with like these pharmaceutical companies. You can try to fine them. Like Johnson & Johnson got fined $500 million.
Bruh, this is... Go on. I know where you're going with this, and this is really important people understand. So go on.
So like
this drives me fucking crazy.
The Oklahoma ruling for Johnson & Johnson with their role in the opioid crisis, they were charged $500 million.
How much did they make off of the drug?
It's difficult to say exactly, but in the like a magnitude of greater than that, like in the billions.
So essentially these drug companies are going, I don't mind if I get fined $500 million for the drug that may or may not work if I can make $1 billion.
Yeah. I made $500 million.
That's $500 million less?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make 900 million, 950, whatever that fuck the number is. Who knows?
Yeah.
I made $500 million, right? That's half, right? So it's like, all they have to do is calculate that punishment in. It's probably no different than like the banks, right? Like, okay, if I sell these fucked up things and I do this bad shit, if I sell people bad mortgages or,
these people can't pay and I take that loss, but think of all the money I made on interest and whatever.
Or even if the SEC fines me, I don't care if they fine me because they're not going to fine me more than the amount of money I made. Yeah. The punishment has to be greater than the amount of money made.
Yeah.
It maybe should go to the point where they can't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even this dude, Kapoor, what's his name? John Kapoor?
John Kapoor, yeah.
66 months in jail.
How many years is that, Akaash?
5.5.
I mean...
To become a billionaire, you wouldn't do that? Or 100 millionaire, whatever the fuck he was worth?
His family keeps a lot of the money, like...
I think you have to
And then you're out on good behavior and
here it is.
And also, there's very few people that actually get, actually tried.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's hard to catch them.
So here's the thing. Maybe we do this. If financial incentive is the reason why they're doing it, right? We have to remove all the financial reward in the punishment for the crime.
Yeah.
So now you wouldn't consider doing the crime because you're like, well, I'm not going to do 5 years and I get no money out of it.
Yeah.
But I'll do 5 years and be worth 100 million.
Yeah, but like, how can you prove that the speaking engagement was payment for giving these meds?
You can't, but you can disincentivize the company that would be hiring the guys to do the speaking engagements if they knew that they could get punished and have all their profits removed if the drug ended up being faulty.
If white collar crimes punishments were purely like fuck jail time, it's all financial and it is heavily penalized financially, it might not even be worth it for them. Because if your punishment for money laundering is we take all your money, I don't know how much, you can prove whatever, we just take it all. I'm sure that's an overcorrection.
It's tricky because they can afford the attorneys to
that's the thing. These rules won't pass because the people who break the rules are rich and make the rules. So this is all some shit that would never happen. It's a utopian idea.
This is something that really interesting. Maybe we save this for Patreon because we got to wrap this up. But we just, put it out there and then go check out Patreon, patreon.com/flagrant2, asshole army growing like crazy.
Almost at 10.
Yeah, we're almost at 10K, man. So we coming for him, bro. So let's get up to that 10. If you're listening right now, you fuck with us, go check out that Patreon, man. And if you don't believe us telling you, go listen to the reviews, go listen to other asshole army members that fuck with the Patreon. They'll tell you for themselves. But this is a discussion we should have over there. When it comes to cancel culture, and we got a shout out to Miles, the guy, I think it was Miles or Ryan who brought this up. Miles brought this up to us. When it comes to cancel culture, it's really interesting. We do not keep that same energy for the people who commit white collar crime.